Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening. It is always a good time for Touchdown in Paradise. Coming to you live from Lake Forest, California, here on the Fins Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Russ, and I'm Pete too because Pete doesn't like to show up.
Sabbatical Pete taking an early 0-2 for the season. How about that?
I hit up Pete like 2 months before. I was like, because I was doing we got a couple other shows and the baseball show is doing good. So I'm like, hey, I want to come on. Are you in? He's like, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, yeah, of course. Pete just says he had anything, but when you say yes, you stick to your word, Peter. Michael Jordan
And so
played with the flu. All you got to do is cough.
that's true. That's true. Well, we wish Pete a speedy recovery here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We don't want to start 0-2 for the season like Pete over here. So let's start with the team that is looking to avoid that 0-2 start next week, and that is the Texas Longhorns with Trough Manning versus Arch Manning. Arch Manning falls flat in his 14-7 debut against Ohio State with the team. Julian Sayin on the other side for Ohio State, 126 yards and a touchdown. Manning only 17 for 30, 170 yards, a touchdown, and a pretty bad pick. So, Russ, here's the question. Is this who Arch Manning is, or will we see better?
You know, I'm trying to I'm pretty sure I've done a pretty good job of trying to temper my expectations just because, I am in I guess, the sports world, not very high up there, but kind of in the sports world, talking about college football on a couple shows and listening, trying to temper my expectations and definitely listen to all ESPN that, Arch is. Nobody talked about the things about Arch Manning going into Texas. They just talk about his name. They talk his name's Manning. His uncle and grandfather played in the NFL. No one ever spoke about he played at a class two high school in Louisiana. So I mean, he wasn't playing the best competition in high school. Now you think with 2 years under his belt, he would have learned a little better. But also, I mean, he's going up against. I think he'll get better when he learns. He's going to learn from his mistake and grow. But he's growing up against a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator.
That is true. Matt Patricia, the new DC over at Ohio State, and that is a tall task for anybody making their
He
first
put on a
career start essentially on the road.
he put on a masterpiece, Justin, on defense.
He sure did. It looked like vintage Patriots, Matt Patricia, to be honest. I mean, Ohio State still keeping up from last season when nobody could score on them when they're running within the 5 yard line. They stopped Texas there once, nearly stopped them again, too. But here we are now. Now, with all that, with that defense looking the way it does, and of course, Julian saying going to settle in a little bit more as the season goes on, is Ohio State poised to repeat?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's all going to be on saying, excuse me. I think he looked very good for a guy making his first start. I thought he made a couple good passes. I was very impressed. I liked him. Now, yes, they only scored 14 points, but I think as the year progresses, they're going to be able to get more involvement from Carnell Tate. Who had, yes, he had that big touchdown catch, but besides that, he didn't have much involvement in the offense. So I think as the year evolves, we'll get more involvement from Tate because Jeremiah Smith attracts so much attention. And I mean, their two running backs did great. I mean, I think and you can agree disagree with me. I think this is a year where I don't really see two or three clear cut favorites. I see a good handful, eight, you know, 6, 8 teams that could win the title this year. I don't think there's one or two or three teams that are better than everybody else.
You said that perfectly, and I was going to bring that up a little later. Just based off of week one, I'm not seeing an all-time great team like a 2019 LSU or an 01 Miami. This new era, I will say, of NIL has leveled the playing field. We established that last year, and I just think it's carrying over now. We're seeing these teams are changing every single offseason. Players are going to 4 schools now, basically, wherever they're promised another check. And here we are in this day and age when I don't see a great team. I see very good teams, but nothing that's going to look great. Maybe that Ohio State defense can make that team great. If Julian Sayin really picks it up and gets more involved, I do agree with that. And getting Cornell Tate into the mix too, they have probably the best chance of anybody. I also really liked it. We'll talk about it a little later, but LSU looked pretty good. We saw a surprise coming up. Why don't we move on to that real quick here?
I think so. I had on deck. I had former World Series champ Java Chamberlain on my show, and he was talking about the landscape of college baseball, but it goes directly into college sports. And he was saying, he says, the way he said it, he goes, I think the way college baseball is, which is a good thing. Now these players are getting paid, but there needs to be some regulations on it, and that I agree with him on that. That it's good, yes, that they deserve to be paid, but there's got to be some type of regulations. Like you can't see a guy like we see nowadays flip every year just for more money.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you. Appreciate that input. Let's move on here real quick. Tommy Boy, Thomas Castellanos, the new kid on the block at FSU, upsets Alabama, number 8. Both of us were wrong on this one, Russ. Castellanos, 152 yards, 78 rushing yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Ty Simpson for Alabama, 254 yards, 2 TDs. The stats look better than the actual game, I will say about him. But with this, Gus Malzahn, the new play caller at Florida State. Now, Gus did recruit Thomas Castellanos to UCF for his freshman year. Then he left. And then last year, obviously, was Gus's last year at UCF, now at FSU. These two reunite, and let me tell you, FSU looks electric, man. I did not expect this whatsoever.
Yeah, it was a good game. I thought he looked good. I want to see what Thomas Castellanos does going into the future, because even when he was at Boston College, he'd have a couple good games and then kind of fall back down to earth. So I'd like to see him string a few of those games. It would be a surprise because, I think, in my opinion, and a lot of the Miami fans or ACC fans' opinion, it's a pretty, even though we did have one team lose, it's a two-horse race in the ACC. So it's just looking for a team to jump in there. But I'd like to see them string a few more games together before I jump on the Knowles hype train. But I know I'm jumping ahead. I know you probably want to talk about Bama too.
No, I will say something you said there that I wanted to maybe refute just a bit. The ACC being a 2-team race. At the end of the year, we may very well see that. But after looking at this weekend, I think the ACC is a little bit deeper than we think. Obviously, you get the Miami, you get the Clemson. But then how about Syracuse? I know they did give up a lot of points against a very high-powered Tennessee offense. But then you bring that to the ACC, I think they could make a little bit of noise. I'm not saying they're a contender. And then, of course, you got to think of SMU as well. They could be back, but I think they'll take a step back. Georgia Tech, still a very tough team to beat. Just the way they play, grinded out, hard-nosed football, that running game. They'll be a tough out too. And we're not going to talk too much about Belichick because there was nothing really to see. Go ahead, Russ. What were you going to say?
I think Georgia Tech would probably be the dark horse of the ACC, in my opinion, to get to Charlotte. I have Miami, Clemson, even after the rough outing for Clemson. I still think Clemson will get there, but you can never really sleep on Georgia Tech, the way Brett Key runs that team. They don't get ahead of themselves. They play week by week. They play tough, hard-nosed football, good defense, run the ball. So, but I mean, with the Alabama thing, I know Ty Simpson had, at the end of the day, the numbers looked good, but the offense, in my opinion, looked very stagnant. There was not. It was a lot of check downs, a lot of short stuff. Would this another maybe a poorer game from Ty Simpson force Kalen DeBoer to put in Austin Mack or highly 5-star recruit Keelan Russell?
And I'm thinking too that I think there's going to be a lot bigger questions if they do struggle like this again this season, not on the team, but is Kalen DeBoer on the hot seat if he loses another game this way?
I mean, I know, 250 passing yards. It just wasn't, it was a lot. The run game wasn't great. Obviously, you give up 30 points, 31 points on the defensive end. You're always chasing, but it was just a stagnant offense. I mean, I know what he was doing. You don't want to throw a freshman right into the hot seat there, but the offense was not getting it done for me. And I don't know if you make that. I don't think they lose to UL Monroe this week, but if like we saw when he played USF a couple years ago, it's just not very electric offense. I mean, it's not a Kalen DeBoer style offense for sure.
I agree. I think that this Bama team looks pretty, how do the kids say now, mid? This is a very mid program under Kalen DeBoer in starting year 2. Maybe they could get better. I love Kalen DeBoer. I love what he did at Washington. Maybe this just isn't the right cultural fit. That's what I always thought about Scott Frost. I know he's a Nebraska born and raised kid, and he did go coach Nebraska, but he just seemed a lot happier at UCF. That's just being a little bit of a homer here. Kalen DeBoer seemed a lot more at home, I would say, on the West Coast, recruiting on that side of the country. You saw what he did when he got a guy who could gunsling it like Michael Penix. Ty Simpson just cannot do that. He can run. Milroe could run. Milroe could be very inaccurate. Michael Penix was the most accurate quarterback maybe I've ever seen during his couple years at Washington, no matter how questionable that lineup looked.
I mean, and I love DeBoer. I love his story, going from South Dakota, from an NAIA school winning titles. I think it was University of Sioux Falls, which is now D2, to winning titles there when they were NAIA, to going from Fresno State to Indiana, to then obviously to Washington. But like we see in a lot of sports, you never want to be the guy after the superstar. You want to be the guy after the guy, like I'm a Yankees fan. I mean, and it's been tough ever since Jeter retired because you're trying to fill that hole. And Alabama fans have been spoiled with one of, if not the greatest coach in football history. You could definitely put him in that conversation in NFL and just all of football. And it's always going to be tough to follow that up. So maybe it's not the right fit for DeBoer. Maybe it's not he's not a good coach. It's just he doesn't. It's different. I mean, the Pac-12 is different than the SEC, but we shall see with him.
Indeed, the battle for the real Death Valley. LSU claims stake as they take down those other Tigers in Clemson 17-10 on the road. Garrett Nussmeier, 28 of 38, 230 yards in the TD. Very similarly, Cade Klubnik, 19 of 38, 230 yards as well, and 1 interception. Brian Kelly finally gets that monkey off his back of losing week 1. Last year, he lost to USC in a neutral site in Vegas. He also lost to Florida State back-to-back in Orlando, and then the year before that in New Orleans, I believe it was. And here they are actually going on the road instead of going to a neutral site, and he wins. I hate to say it, but I got to give Brian Kelly some love here. Give him some credit. He goes to a tough environment and beats a very good Clemson team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a good game. I think we saw. I'm not writing Clemson off, but we saw the issues Clemson's going to have to deal with. That offensive line was not giving Klubnik a lot of time to pass the football, and the thing Klubnik was doing in the first half, LSU made a good adjustment going into halftime to minimize his legs, and keep him contained. So on that part, definitely their coaching staff made a very good adjustment going into halftime because he was gashing them in the first half. But I think that game will definitely show, and I think Dabo will address it pretty quickly. That they have a couple big holes that they need to address if they want to be in national title contention.
You said it best, indeed. So with all that, I'm not ready to write Clemson off either. I do still think they are going to be the favorite in the ACC. Do keep an eye on Miami. Speaking of Miami, the U is BECK. Carson Beck leads Miami to an upset over number 6 Notre Dame. Good thing Pete and Joe aren't here because now we can talk freely, right, Russ?
Pete's sick.
Mm-hmm. I know. We miss Pete. I'm just joking.
Pete's sick.
We're over here. Carson Beck, 205 yards, 2 TDs. Malachi Toney with 6 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And CJ Carr for Notre Dame, pretty good debut himself, 221 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. How about Miami's CJ Daniels with the early candidate for catch of the year on that touchdown? Did you see that, Russ?
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm. That was Odell Beckham-esque right there.
That was a great catch. Miami looked very good. Was it Kalen Toney, I think it is?
Malachi Toney.
Malachi Toney, 17-year-old freshman, looked very good. I think the defense looks much upgraded from last year. I mean, you keep Price and Jeremiah Love, who, is probably a Heisman favorite, to 33 yards. And kind of minimize that. I think it's, even though it's a loss for Notre Dame, I think you can take some serious positives from that game because I was really impressed with CJ Carr's composure and the way he handled himself. But I think on the Marcus Freeman, it was just making adjustments a little too late. They were just after that. Because, after that first drive in the second half, they gave up 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think they did make an adjustments, but it was just too little too late for them. But I think you can take some upside for Notre Dame, a win in that loss that CJ Carr looked very composed for a freshman quarterback, made a lot of big plays. Riley Leonard asked 13 there still, with that touchdown run. I think I was impressed by their Miami. Their defense is just looking a lot better than last year, which was their Achilles heel. And the offense is moving more, good running game. But I think, in my opinion, the one thing that I always had a question on for Miami, and you could disagree or agree, was the defense, and the defense definitely did their job, shutting down Notre Dame's best 2 players. I don't know, I think it's Jeremiah Greathouse. Was he not even? He didn't even get a ball. That was,
and he's really good. If you've seen him play,
he had a massive game against Penn State. I heard his name like once, maybe twice.
He had a great game against Ohio State in the Natty too.
So on the Miami looks for real just because that defense looks for real. I think Carson Beck got a lot of flack last year because of Georgia's issues, and a lot of it got put on him. But I don't think, in my opinion, you can't put it all on Carson Beck. The reason Georgia was so great is because they had a very strong offensive line and very strong running game. And they didn't have a strong offensive line or running game this last year. And there was a lot of drops. So, in my opinion, you couldn't put that on Carson Beck. He took the brunt of the force, obviously, being the quarterback. But he looked very good. Running game looks strong, but good wide receiver core, young wide receiver core. And Hard Rock came out rocking. Like I was told, it was packed with like 61,000 plus.
Oh yeah, you know they're going to sell that place out when it's Catholics versus convicts rivalry renewed. Even in the rain, those fans really did show up to pack the house. And I got to give credit to both these teams, especially because it is not easy to throw or catch a ball in the rain, and they did it very well, both sides.
But I mean, Miami looks for real, but I mean, it's their first true test in a while. But Carson Beck, I think after a down year showed like he's still one of the better quarterbacks in college football, and it's definitely going to play big for Miami because you do have a veteran leader there under center. You don't have a freshman or sophomore like we're seeing with a lot of the Ohio States or Texas. You have a fifth-year senior.
Mm-hmm. And this year, yes, Clemson and Miami are on the schedule to play each other. It doesn't always happen in the ACC, but this year they are. So we are going to get that little showdown right there. Looking forward to it. Moving along here, just some other notable games from the weekend. I said we're not going to talk too much about this, so I'm just going to casually mention it. Talk about greatest coaches pantheon ever when we mentioned Saban. Now we're talking Bill Belichick and UNC stumbling poorly out of the gate against TCU, 48-14 beatdown in Chapel Hill. Any quick comment on this, Russ?
I turned it off quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've been watching football. I've been sitting on the couch Saturday, basically all Sunday, because I had to watch that South Carolina game too. And then it got really bad quick. I'm like, why am I sitting here watching this? It was not good. And even listening to ESPN, the NFL, like they're saying there's two guys on the defense who are NFL draft guys. Everybody else they don't know. And like the way Bill's doing it, he's hiding everything. But it was quick. With their quarterback looked good that first possession and went downhill from there. So there's not much to talk about, Justin.
Yep, I just will say I think this is still leading us more to the topic of Bill was heavily assisted by Tom Brady throughout his career. Not that to say that he carried Bill the entire career, but he heavily assisted Bill. Because now we've seen, 2 years in the NFL at least with Bill without Tom Brady. One getting blown out by the Bills, the other not even making the playoffs, getting a top 5 pick. And then college, of course, is a completely different animal. I'm not trying to compare the two. This is also week 1. I'm sure they could get better. But this was not the start that any UNC fan wanted. I can tell you that much. And I will just give a quick shout out to TCU. Just all around looking great. And Josh Hoover, keep an eye on him because that man has the accuracy of Brady-esque. Not saying he's Tom Brady, but the way he just throws that ball and racks up those yards and threads the needle so well. I just love to watch that kid play.
Yeah.
Moving along here, Tennessee beats down Syracuse in Atlanta, 45-26. Not much to say here other than pretty much expected. This is Josh Heupel against Fran Brown. Heupel's going to have the more explosive offense, and all the resources at his disposal will allow Tennessee to do that. But Tennessee wins the Battle of the Oranges. This one I was pretty surprised by. USF hammers down Boise State in Tampa, 34-7. Did you watch this game at all, Russ?
Yeah, I watched that game. Yeah, I was doing a podcast at that time, but I was still watching it. UCF has been
USF,
not UCF. Excuse me. One of the other schools in Florida has been starting to trend, I think, in a better direction. The quarterback looked good. I think it was Brett Brown, if I'm right.
Byram Brown.
He looked good. I think they've been starting to put, trend in the right direction. Will they make some noise in the AAC? I don't know. But maybe they're trending in the right direction when they finally get a field on campus there, up here in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not too far down the street from you. But do be careful. I've heard Temple Terrace ain't great.
There's some living in Florida now. Like, obviously we're in Florida for a little bit. Obviously, I lived in California my whole life. And in California, there's definitely like, hey, you know where you are. It's like, oh, this is a nicer area. This is not as nice area. Florida's like, this is a nice block, and then you take a right, and it's like, oh, it's a trailer park. It's there's no like middle ground. Like Sarasota, Florida's like wealthy. Everybody like, and then in 2 minutes we'll go to poor.
Mm-hmm. It's when you go across the bridge down in South Florida from Palm Beach to West Palm Beach, and you just see the absolute inequality, I've heard.
And like Tampa's that way. St. Petersburg is, you could where you go, which downtown's very nice, but you go 5 miles, which could be a long drive, and it gets bad quick. And it's like even cops will tell you, no, you don't want to be in this area at night.
Mm-hmm. No joke. Going down the list here, just real quickly, I will say that
Busch Gardens is in Temple Terrace too, which is a good time if you're ever in Tampa. Busch Gardens is a fun time. Obviously, you're in Orlando. It's a little different animal in Orlando, but
I do like Tampa when I go there. It's a pretty nice city. But Boise State without Ashton Genty, they've got some work to do. I got to say that.
definitely.
South Carolina and your Beamer Bowl, Russ, takes down Virginia Tech 24-11 in the Beamer Bowl. Virginia Tech did not even score a touchdown in this game. It was 3 field goals and a safety, if I'm not mistaken.
Are we going to mention the epic collapse on? I didn't watch the game because it came on at 11 o'clock at night, but the NIL collapse on Saturday night.
No, please do.
UCLA just getting absolutely shellacked by Utah.
How's that NIL money, Nico? At least he's laughing his ass to the bank.
It's only like 1.15.
Only 1.15. Wow, you say that like it's nothing, Russ.
Well, after you go like Carson Beck, the quarterback from UNC is making 4.
I'm just saying, I would love that money in my bank
yeah,
account.
I mean, same. I don't know what I'd do with that money, but
You asked me to suit up for UCLA for that much money, I'm going to go to the gym right now.
I'm gonna get killed, but that's fine. I'll take it.
Hey, my life insurance is paid. And over here, just to round the league here, Oregon, Penn State, Iowa State, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Michigan, SMU, and Arizona State all dominate lesser competition. And now let's jump right into our Paradise Parlay. And too bad P is not here for the PD Parlay, but I hope he gets better. I know it's a sick day for him because, well, we all saw what happened down in Miami. Anyways, starting off here. Go ahead. Did you say something or not?
No, you were talking.
That's right. Okay. Starting off here with the Cy-Hawk Trophy game. Iowa at Iowa State. For the first time in a while, Iowa State is the favorite here. They're a -3 favorite at home. Over-unders 41.5. ISU -155 money line. Iowa +130. Give it to me, Russ.
I'm going to take Iowa State to cover, Iowa State to win, and the under.
I'm with you. Iowa State is looking like the better team so far this year. Kirk Ferentz's offense is outdated. Their defense and their punting game can only take them so far. Iowa State is starting to make some real noise. So give me the Cyclones to cover. Give me the under, I'm going to say, and I'll take the Cyclones money line.
But I want to see how that South Dakota State guy plays, the transfer from South Dakota State. Mentioning Dakotas, did you see Kansas State only won by like a last-second touchdown to beat University? To beat University of North Dakota, who's not even the best team in the state.
I saw that. Things are not looking very bright in Manhattan this year. Losing in Ireland at Farmageddon to Iowa State, and then now this. They've got some work to do themselves.
I mean, like, UND's like a middle-of-the-road team. They're not even like the best 2 teams in their conference.
Mm-hmm. That's right, I know. But let's stay right around that area here. Kansas at Mizzou. Rivalry renewed coming up here. Mizzou is a favorite at home, -6. Over-under is 51.5. Mizzou -230 money line. KU +190. With Drinkowitz at the helm, Mizzou has been exciting. Not super flashy, but they get the job done. And after last year, Lance Leipold, we're starting to question him just a little bit. He's rejuiced Kansas, but I don't think they're going to have enough to match up with this SEC team. So I'm going to take Mizzou to cover, and I'll take the over here, and I'll go Mizzou money line. Russ?
Yeah, I'm going Mizzou to cover, win, and under.
So we're pretty congruent here so far. We got the Texas two-step showdown over here. Baylor at SMU. SMU a -3-point favorite here at home. Over under 64.5. Ponies -148. Bears +124. Kick us off here, Russ.
Yeah, I'm going to take Baylor to cover, Baylor to win, and it's a lot of points, Justin. That's a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of under. That's a lot of points.
It is. Now, if you asked me a year ago, yeah, SMU could absolutely light up the scoreboard like this. Baylor, I mean, they were kind of mid, but this is another year. They did go up against an SEC defense last week in Auburn and lost. Baylor really needs this win to keep pace and just even have a shot at winning the college football playoff. Now, with SMU here, they're not going to make it easy. I'm going to go SMU to win, to cover, and I am going to take that over because I think that there could be some points here scored because it is a Big 12 team, and Ponies winning it on the money line. Ole Miss at Kentucky. We got the Rebels at -10 here on the road. 52.5 over under. Ole Miss -375. Kentucky +295. A year ago, Kentucky pulled this upset in Oxford, if I'm not mistaken, which shocked everybody here. They don't have Jackson Dart anymore, but they still do have some firepower because, of course, it's Lane Kiffin. He's always got his antics. He's always going to be a little fiery. And to be honest, it's looking like the SEC could be a little wide open again. We know Ole Miss can score, but can they stop? And I think that Lane Kiffin is a better coach. So I'm not going to take them to cover, but I'll take Kentucky to cover. Give me Ole Miss to win. I'm going to go the under here just because they're on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to go the cover. I'm going to go Ole Miss, and I got to see it for under.
So you've got Kentucky covering?
I got Kentucky losing by 8.
Okay, got it. And now for our game of the week here, Michigan at Oklahoma. Sooners welcome in Bryce Underwood and the Wolverines. No Sharon Moore, I don't believe, because he's still serving a suspension. But over here, OU is the spread favorite, -5.5. Over under here. No, OU does not stand for over under. 46.5. And now over here, though, this is interesting. We had Michigan being the money line favorite. I got to check that here. But if this is correct, Michigan -225 and OU +185. That's a little interesting. But let's go ahead and start with you, Russ, because I know you support Oklahoma because your sister went there.
This is a tough one, but I'm going to go Michigan to cover, OU to win, and over.
I like it. I may have to follow that similar formula here, but I'm just looking up, did I make a mistake when putting this together? Because that is very interesting for a spread here. Bringing down to Oklahoma and Michigan. No, I am wrong, and I apologize. So here's the updated number here. Oklahoma -192, Michigan +160. Does that change your picks at all?
No, I mean, it's still the same spread.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a 4-point victory for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm going to go the under here. I don't fully believe in Brent Venables' Oklahoma to score big against a tough opponent. So I'm going to stick with that under. I'm going to have Michigan cover here because they still will have that tough defense. Bryce Underwood is going to make his first road start here, so I'm very excited to see that. I wouldn't say Oklahoma is the most hostile environment, just because from what I've heard, you go there and it's mostly people just having a little nice reunion. It's not like an Oregon where they're fierce, where they're loud. It's Oklahoma. Now, OU fans, don't come at me. Don't come at me. I love you all. I'm just talking from experience here of people who went to a game a couple years ago at your stadium. But I am going to have you guys win, probably by a field goal, not by 5.5, though. So overall, I've got Michigan covering, I've got the under, and OU winning. Now some quick commentary here. Upset and cover of the week. I'm going to start here. I'm going to take USF covering against Florida on the road here. -17.5 is the spread here. That seems like a lot of points. USF played them tough a couple years ago in the swamp. We saw what they did to Boise State last week. Yes, DJ Lagway in Florida looked great, but Alex Golish and those guys are going to play an SEC team tough, just like they did at Alabama last year and just couldn't finish. Russ.
I'm going an upset this week. I'm taking the Charlotte 49ers to beat Chapel Bill in Charlotte at 16.5.
Ooh, look at that.
I'm taking Charlotte.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And Pete once again forgot to submit. And so we're going to skip along here. Here's some other games that I'm keeping an eye on personally this weekend, starting at Illinois-Duke. Illinois. We talked about them last week as they were, like I said, one or two elite playmakers away from seriously contending for the Big Ten. I know they were playing not the best opponent last week, but they look good. You saw guys making plays all over the field. Luke Altmaier just letting it fly. They could be a fun team this year, underratedly. I like the Illini on the road at Duke, but I'm very intrigued by that matchup. The other one I'm keeping an eye on is Oklahoma State at Oregon. Another orange and black OSU going to Eugene. Not Oregon State, but Oklahoma State. You know Mike Gundy and his big personality, and you know Dan Lanning and his big fiery personality. I heard there were a couple little claps on social media already, including Dan Lanning saying, "We spend to win." And we know T. Boone Pickens has got that NIL money at Oklahoma State with all that oil. Phil Knight's got his money all over Oregon. So this will be very interesting. I do think Oregon's going to slaughter them because Oklahoma State has fallen on some tough times the last couple of years. But that's just me. Russ, what are you watching?
I mean, I think you hit them. Those are pretty good picks there, Justin, on games, that aren't the marquee games that we'll all be watching. I think you hit it pretty good, Justin. I want to see UCLA UNLV.
Yeah, that'll be a big test. Is UCLA going to contend at all? Can they beat a new coach at UNLV, a group of 5 team?
Who's the coach? I can't remember the name.
Barry Odom.
No.
At UCLA?
No, at UNLV.
Yeah, Barry Odom. Oh, yeah, wait, he left. That's right. Sorry, it's Dan Mullen.
Yeah, it's Dan Mullen. It did not look good week 1 either, week 0.
Mm-hmm.
Squeaked out a win. So I want to see how Nico Yamaliova looks.
That's right. All right. So UCLA versus UNLV is what Russ is watching. Pete, once again, not showing up to make his pick and not filling it in beforehand. Pete, come on, man. You're letting us down.
Pete's got to show up one time before he can make a pick.
And we're going to wrap it up here with our cheers for the week. My cheer goes out to the legend Lee Corso, wrapping up a 30-year career in style, going 6 for 6 on picks, and bookending his career with the Brutus headgear, the exact way that he started it. First ever headgear he put on was Brutus Buckeye, ending it the same way. I love how the band got around him, spelled Corso. They moved the panel right to the middle of the field for it. He got over the loudspeaker in the horseshoe, put the Buckeye on, and everybody cheered. It doesn't matter if you were a Texas fan or just a fan of anything that day. You just wanted to tip your cap to the man and stand up and applaud. The man just made game day so watchable for so many years, always gave me something to look forward to cap off the morning and get ready for some college football. That was like the ultimate hype thing. And now we're entering officially a new era of college game day where this will not be the top of the hour anymore, the last thing before the kickoff. and we'll see how the show goes on. I think McAfee and Saban have done a great job so far, but not to have the headgear anymore, this is going to be something that I'm not going to be used to for quite a while, and I'm going to miss it. I do wish Coach Corso well, and that's my cheer. Russ?
Yeah, I think that's a solid one. I also want to, shout out to those Miami Hurricanes fans. I think a lot of big market sports fans get shit because they don't show up for every week. But they showed up and showed out for that game and got the W.
In
Also,
the rain, nonetheless. In the big time rain.
Yeah. In the rain, they showed up in a big part, 61,000 plus. And that kid who made that 33-yard field goal for game day and just shoved it down McAfee's throat. He buried that kick. I mean, that might have been good from 43.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well done to him for winning that money. And that is going to do it for us today here on Touchdown in Paradise. We'll see you all next week. Well, I will. Russ is going to be out with some family. Wishing you well, Russ. Thank you for being here when you can. And be sure to tune in to On Deck and all his other shows here on the Fins Talk Sports Network. But this has been Touchdown in Paradise. I'm Justin.
I'm Russ.
And we will see you next time.